All right. Hello, everybody. I hope everyone is having a great Monday. I know some people are like, Monday, but I hope we're having a great start to the week. I hope it's like, yay, Monday for everybody. Really quick, my name is Rebecca Pisolides. I'm so excited that you are all here. If you don't know where you are, we are setting up your nonprofit for success with Sima. You're going to learn a lot. We actually have an event every March, and we had Sima as one of our nominated speakers. And just so you guys have an idea, we usually get over 100 nominations for women to come speak. And she was someone that spoke for us. I believe it was 2 years ago. And even then, I was like, oh my gosh, what great gems were dropped. And that was only about, I think, a 20-minute like sort of Q&A back and forth. So I'm excited to go deeper into what she does and everything else before I jump in and let her go ahead because I know she's got some amazing stuff prepared. Just some quick housekeeping things. So if there are any questions, there is a Q&A at the end. So please save any questions that you might have for the end. You can write in the chat if you want and put the questions there and we'll come back to them at the end. Or if you want to ask it and unmute at the end, you absolutely can. So just a note there. I don't want you to be like anyone to feel like, oh, I have a question. Will I ever get it answered? Absolutely. At the end, you will get it answered. Secondly, if you are able to put on your screen, we appreciate it. Zoom, I love Zoom for the ease of use, right? Anywhere from anywhere in the world, anyone can come onto Zoom. But seeing people's faces, seeing people's smiles, facial expressions helps our speakers, helps everyone to feel more connected. So if you're able to put on your screen, do so. If not, if you're driving or whatever that is, no worries. But one thing I always do say, if you've ever been on one of these, is energy is real and energy is contagious. So what that means is if Seema says, all right, guys, drop an emoji or say yes in the chat if you understand what I'm saying or anything like that. I want us to just give her all the energy so she gives us all the gems that she has today. So let's do a test run. Can anyone just send any old emoji? Send just an emoji in the chat or however you want. Just send an emoji just to see that we're excited today. I love it. I'm seeing some hearts. I'm seeing some claps. Absolutely. And that is exactly what we want. The more you are engaged, the more engaging it will be. I love it. All right, we got a great audience, some great people here. So I'm super excited. So I'm just going to continue then really quick, and then I'm going to introduce Seema. So just in case you're not aware of who we are Vision Elite Real Estate Team. So we are a real estate team. We do residential, commercial, and business. So we are nationwide and an international real estate and business team. We are the number one team for healthcare professionals. I won't go super into that, but if you are someone who wants to buy or sell or invest in real estate in any of the residential, commercial, business areas, we are there for you. We can help even if it's just a seedling of an idea or if it's more developed. We are there for that. That is one reason we do events and things like this. We do masterminds like this every single month because we believe in education and empowering people through education. It's always bigger than real estate, we always say. And then you see there helping people buy, sell, rent, and invest in real estate and grow businesses. If this is you or you might know somebody who it is, you can just see any of our information down there. But that's us. I'm so excited to get into today's topic. Like I mentioned in the beginning, Seema is just an amazing person, amazing, wise woman. So we're so excited to have her speak today. And Seema, I'm going to stop talking because I can keep talking. So I'm going to go ahead and replace my pin with your pin. And guys, just drop some emojis. So we're excited to have her. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. As Rebecca said, my name is Sima Matthes. I'm the co-founder of the Beck Matthes Collective, powered by Purpose. We're a strategic consulting firm that works exclusively with nonprofits. And today I want to talk with you about what it really takes to build an organization that lasts, not just one with a great mission, but one with the structural strength to survive its own success. This talk is for founders and leaders who are ready to move from we have a great mission to we have a sustainable organization. By the end, you'll learn what to consider before starting your own nonprofit. I have some opinions. how the fundraising landscape has changed, and how a strategic consultant can help you succeed. So let's dive in. I wanted to say a special welcome. I see a lot of my friends from Association of Fundraising Professionals have joined, so I'll get the scoop later if I'm on the money or off the money. I'm going to share my screen with you. So there's a problem you want to solve. Should you start a nonprofit? As I said, I have opinions. I don't think everybody who wants to start a nonprofit should. But let's start with, what is a nonprofit? A nonprofit is an organization that works to help a community or advance a cause. Instead of making money for its owners like a for-profit business, any revenue generated is invested back in the programs and services of the organization. It is mission focused. There's no owners. And that is what makes us different. I prefer to call it impact sector because I think we run into a problem when we say nonprofit and then we ask for money. So my mission after this is to start calling it the impact sector rather than nonprofit. There's an average of 100,000 new nonprofits started each year in the United States. There are just under 2 million, about 1.8 million registered nonprofits in the United States, the majority of which are charities, or 501c3 organizations, which is the tax designation from the IRS. The National Center on Charitable Statistics reports that about 30% of nonprofits fail within the first 10 years of operation. Nonprofit sector is about 5 to 6% of U.S. gross domestic product and represents 10% of the private sector workforce in the United States. So with all that in mind, if you still want to start a nonprofit, there are 4 questions you should probably start with. What is the specific gap you're trying to fill? Understanding the scope of the need and whether it's already being met. You need to get really granular on this. It's not enough to say, I want to fight homelessness or I want to help animals. It's got to be really specific. Very, very critically, you have to know if anybody else is already doing this work. This takes something called a landscape analysis. Is there an organization in your area that's already focused on this issue? Could they benefit from your time, your talent, your contacts, or your financial assistance? Please, I'm begging you, don't start a new nonprofit. Volunteer, donate, join a board, learn from them, help them reach out and complete their mission. It will bring you just as much joy and much less heartache than starting your own nonprofit. Who will your organization serve? You need to clearly define the target population you aim to serve, and that, again, takes getting granular. I want to help homeless women in Nassau County find safe housing. Very regional, very, very, very specific. Because as we continue, you'll see why it's important to narrow that down. Is collaboration an option? Could you help an existing organization absorb this work faster? Is there an organization that is doing parallel work but doesn't have a program that meets the exact mission you'd like to fulfill? Could they be a fiscal sponsor for you? Could you become a program of theirs and let them manage all the administrative burdens of running a nonprofit rather than you taking it on separately? Does your community need a brand new organization is always a good question. Sometimes the most strategic move is strengthening what exists. This slide, and I should have asked, everybody can see what I'm seeing, right? There's a kind of a bullseye on my screen. This is the golden circle from Simon Sinek's Start With Why TED Talk, and his book and everything else he's done since. I think he's brilliant. And this has been in almost every presentation I've ever done to or for a nonprofit. Because it really encapsulates how we should be thinking about the work we want to do, starting with why. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So every sustainable organization is built from the inside out. Your why is your purpose. It's the belief that drives everything that you do. It is what gets you out of bed in the morning. The approach is the distinct way you deliver on that purpose. That's what separates you from other organizations. And your what could have some overlap. It's the programs and services. It's the work that people see. Most organizations can tell you what they do, show you their programs. Some can tell you how, but longevity relies on a strong why. So, what's your why? We're going to do a moment of reflection. I want you to think about for a minute and reply in the chat. Is there a social problem that keeps you up at night? Is there some big global thing that makes your brain itch and makes you want to solve it? Why does it matter to you and to the people that you think you're going to serve? So share your why in the chat. Let us see what moves you. This is a diverse group. You never know where your next partner is going to be found. So I'll give you a few seconds to do that. And I'll take a look. Actually, oh, there we go. Oh, great. Thank you. Police brutality, help for abused mothers and children, helping those afford true wellness outside of insurance, autism, ICE and other uniformed persons being aggressive. Wow. Lost reading score. I'm not sure what that means, Lydia. Oh, low reading scores. Yep. These are all great beginnings. Your why, Lauren, count on you every time. My why is to be of service and be a light and source of support for those in my community. So the difference between something you're passionate about and a why is that a why is a value statement. It's your foundation. It's how you show up. Everything you build, your programs, your partnerships, your fundraising strategy sits on top of your why. Thank you, everybody, for your input. Every team member and every board member that you have, and I don't know if I can show you my slides again. Every team member, every board member that you have should be able to articulate your organization's why. Maybe not in the same words as you would use, but in words that demonstrate their passion for your mission. That is the big bright line for how you determine if you've surrounded yourself with the right people. Without a clear why, your programs might drift, your fundraising will feel harder than it should, and your team will struggle to stay aligned under pressure. There is something called mission creep, which comes when the need for money is driving your desperation. As long as you hold on to your why, mission creep is less likely to happen. You can't be pushed off your mission if you have a clear why, and you can't be compelled to take funds to create things that don't fulfill your mission. But here's the catch. A compelling mission alone does not build a sustainable organization. You need things, you need pillars, you need planning and governance and fundraising and capacity building in order to build a sustainable organization. Because what you're really building comes from a mission plus a business plan, plus a decent board, plus compliance, plus fundraising, plus finance. And in the end, what you hope to have, and what I'd love for you all to have, is a sustainable, fundable, resilient organization. So, strategic planning, which is a lot of what I do, but it's an important tool for most nonprofits, gives you a clear path from your purpose to your measurable impact. It comes first. And it, as Stephen Covey says in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it starts with the end in mind. Strategic planning is how you are going to get from what wakes you up in the morning and what makes you want to get out of bed to making the impact in the community that is going to solve the problem or address the problem. If you're building something from the ground up, think about how you want it to survive you. I'm going to say that again. Think about how this lives beyond you. If you fully succeed at your mission, what will change? How will you know when you're done? Without a plan, you don't know where you're going. And a lot of organizations get out there with this beautiful vision and founders who are really excited and juiced up, and their friends and family are all excited and juiced up. And then they get out there and they get no closer to finishing the work than when they started the organization. Without a plan, you're wandering. This is your map. It connects the dots, turning your clear purpose into a defined direction, a workable strategy, the capacity to deliver, and the impact you can measure and report on. Part of what drives a good organization is an active strategic board. And it says here, your board should be a working engine and not just names on paper. I cannot tell you how many times I say the phrase, this is not an extracurricular activity for adults in my consulting. It's great that your friends want to support you. If they're just showing up to be able to say that they're sitting on a board, that is not help. That is the opposite of help. That is holding you back. You're going to seek members with expertise in law, accounting, fundraising, and marketing. You're recruiting for those skills. The board is responsible for financial oversight. They need to review your financial statements regularly and help establish operating reserves. And the governance here refers to board governance of the board, not just of the organization. It is important to implement term limits and abide by your bylaws. If you never have a new face in the room, you never have a new idea come out. I've seen it time and time again with organizations where it's just too hard to remove somebody from the board. They've got a connection, they're a big funder, but they overtake every meeting and say no to everything. And that does not move your organization forward. So be strategic and thoughtful about who you add to this conversation with you. Their passion has to match your own. Any questions so far? I don't see the chat, so I will count on we're all good. Thank you for the thumbs up. Okay. Fundraising. Fundraising is where I was raised. It's what I've done for most of my career. And my colleagues on here are from an association, the Association of Fundraising Professionals. So I know that this will ring true to them, or they will call me out if it does not. Fundraising is about diversification of your revenue streams. It's important to have a mixed platter of things that drive revenue and not to rely on a single source for all of your funding. There is $550 billion annually in charitable giving, of which individual funding is the largest portion of nonprofit revenue. So relying on grants or events alone put you at risk. For individual giving to work, you need to cultivate a base of recurring monthly donors. 2/3 of charitable giving revenue comes from individuals. So that's a hot place to cultivate, and we'll talk a little more about that. Earned income is a fee-for-service model, or offering consulting in your community, or mission-aligned merchandise. An organization I worked with recently helps people heal by bringing therapy dogs to places where humans need healing. They have a fee-for-service earned income opportunity in that they support corporate workforce wellness programs and charge the corporations so that they can afford to do all the nonprofit work they do in schools, hospitals, assisted living facilities, etc. I'm sure there are other great examples, and it's a channel that I think nonprofits sometimes chafe at because it feels very for profit. But there are correct ways to do earned income that won't feel bad and will actually generate needed funding and significant funding for your mission. Corporate partnerships are another avenue. Securing sponsorships or cause marketing agreements with local businesses who are aligned with your mission. I will say it over and over again. Aligned with your mission is a great way to raise funds. You don't ever want to be in a position of taking money from an organization that is not aligned with your mission. It's a bad look for a nonprofit, and it allows a bad actor in the corporate space to wrap themselves in the shine that you bring to your work. It devalues your work. And finally, grants and major donors. These are strategic fundraising tools. Grants take a long time. It is difficult for new nonprofits to get grant funding. You need data that doesn't exist when you first start out. You need lots of documentation. You need a tax return. You need lots of things that don't exist when you first start out. So I do frequently hear of new nonprofits saying, oh, we'll just get a grant. And that's not really the reality of it. Grants take time to develop. They take time to apply for. They actually take time to research. You need to be sure of mission alignment, of geographic alignment, of whether the amount that you're going to receive is worth the time you're going to invest in creating the application, let alone doing the work that you're going to be required to do based on what you promise in your application. So grants are part of a strategy and not a whole strategy. And major donors. Major donors are relationships to be cultivated over time. If you're very lucky, a major donor will just fall out of the sky. However, most often, those major donors come out of your good work. They come out of your networking. They come out of your presence in the community. They come out of your relationships that you've built over time. It takes time to build those relationships. And there's no, I keep saying time, but there's no timeline for it. A major donor becomes a major donor when they're ready to be a major donor. There are tools that can help you understand who in your database, as you develop, is a candidate for a major gift, but it starts with exceptional documentation. It starts with exceptional service to that donor as you begin your process of cultivating them and stewarding them. Fundraising has changed. If I could see some of my friends, I bet they're nodding. It is a terrible fundraising environment right now in so many ways. It is a very challenging time to be a fundraiser. 57% of nonprofit CEOs report that it is tougher to win foundation funding now than ever before. 85% of nonprofits report increased needs alongside tightening foundation and government budgeting, which means that there's more need and less money. More than 1/3 of nonprofits are operating at a deficit, relying on financial reserves to stay solvent and afloat. So it's challenging, to say the least, to be a fundraiser today. Donors are looking at outcomes. They want to see measurable results and not just effort. They want to see data. Data backs up your narrative and creates credibility. Again, they want to see diversified revenue. No donor wants to be your only donor. Donor relationships is everything. I worked with a fundraiser who is the best I've ever seen at this. Her calendar and Rolodex were filled with details like the grandkids' birthdays and the favorite wine of the donor and their favorite sports team and their special interest and everything you could possibly think of. So when she saw an article pop up on Google about, I don't know, birding in South Africa, and she knew that there was somebody who had an interest in that, she would call them and say, I just saw this amazing article and I thought of you. How you been? That's the continued relationship. Investing in them as people rather than treating them like ATMs will always get you further. Long-term giving comes from that genuine connection. And finally, sustainability. First-time donor retention is between 14 and 25%. It's wide-ranging because you never know when somebody is polled if that's their only donation. Multi-year donor retention is 87% plus. That means that you need to prioritize donor management, acquisition, retention, and cultivation. It's the relationships. Funders are investing in that longevity and not just a moment of your operation. Any questions at this point? I know I speak very quickly, so I apologize, and I'll be happy to share the slides afterwards for anybody who wants them.
And Sima, we have a few questions in the chat, but we have that Q&A at the end, so we
Okay.
don't disrupt your flow because you're doing
Thank you.
you're doing awesome.
Thanks.
So
Well, thanks.
I'm writing down, like I'm marking the questions so I have them at the end in order as
I
well.
appreciate you. Thank you so much.
For sure.
So the another key pillar of success is planning, systematizing your operations and your leadership. A sustainable organization outlives its founders, and that only happens if the work lives in systems and not in someone's head. Um, I I have a perfect example of this. A client that I consulted for had we were repositioning them, a $5 million organization, and we were repositioning them from their roots as a small soup kitchen to a comprehensive social services organization. And the director of development that I was working with was out for a run and got hit by a truck. She's okay, but She lost about 8 weeks of work time and about 8 years worth of stuff that she had in her head. So if it's not written down, it doesn't exist. Start by documenting everything, recording your top 10 recurring critical processes in a shared accessible space. I'm going to say that again, a shared accessible space. It doesn't do you any good if it lives on the founder's home laptop. It only does you good if it's living in a shared drive, because we don't always get to choose when we're leaving an organization. Things happen every day to people. And if you want the organization and your mission to survive you, it is critical that somebody can pick it up on day two. Not everybody needs to have access to everything, but everything needs to be accessible. You're going to invest in technology. You need a nonprofit customer relationship management system. I can't tell you again how many times I've heard, oh, it's in an Excel spreadsheet. Um, no, no, friends. Maybe at the beginning, but certainly not at year 2 or 3. You need a proper CRM and financial software to track your metrics and streamline your work. Use your tech. It's there. These are tools. Learn how to use them properly at the outset, and then have the systems vendor train whoever is to use them next. Do not rely on telephone to train people on how to use the system. It garbage in, garbage out. I found this especially with nonprofit customer relationship management systems. If it gets put in wrong once and then that person leaves, but they've trained their successor, it will be put in wrong every single time after that until the next person comes in. It is really important that you get your training from the source. And finally, succession planning. You need to have a plan for anticipated and unexpected leadership transitions and board turnover at the outset of the organization. It is not bad luck to have a plan for the end. It is not, it's like saying, oh, well, if I don't write a will, I'll never die. It's if you want your organization to survive you, and I have said it before, you need a plan. Don't just leave it hanging out there. You want this to be important to next generations. You should live and be well. You should do this until you feel like you no longer want to do it. But somebody has to be able to carry the torch to address the social issue that you're addressing. Finally, not finally, but evaluation is another key pillar. You want to track and communicate your impact. Donors are looking for investable outcomes. So we are going to frame your programs as that, an investable outcome. It's tutoring that lifts local graduation rates. This is where the stories come in. They are investing in the story of the person that you helped or the result you created. And you want transparency. You want to regularly report your metrics and share your impact stories with your stakeholders in the organization and outside. Capacity building is, if your why is at the bottom, capacity building drives everything. It holds everything up. Investing in people means funding your staff, funding salaries, funding staff development, and leadership growth, not just program costs. Building your infrastructure is your finance, your HR, your data systems that turn effort into results you can scale and sustain. And this says fund the overhead. Those two things, people and infrastructure, are your overhead. There are many, many funders out there who want to know that their money is not going to overhead, but without systems and without people, the mission doesn't get worked on. So I never like calling people overhead. It's really important to speak to that when you're speaking to funders, making the case that operating support is what makes impact possible. Organizations that prioritize capacity building early are still the ones serving their communities decades later. But let's assume nobody's heard this presentation before. Some organizations might experience a capacity gap as symptoms. So watch for these 3. Everything runs through one person. If a single leader's vacation, injury, incapacity, pregnancy, leave, or retirement stalls the operation, you do not have a bench, you have a bottleneck. If reporting is a scramble, if every time you have to report on data for grants, you have to reinvent the report, it's because you don't have a system to track your outcomes on the continuum. And if staff keep leaving, turnover and burnout signal underinvestment and not bad hiring. So drop it in the chat if this sounds familiar. This is not exclusive to nonprofits. Do you have a bottleneck? Do you struggle to get your reporting done? Do you have high staff turnover? If so, if you've recognized your organization in any of these, it's not a failure. It's a signal telling you where you need to invest next. So I'm going to ask you to do a brief capacity self-assessment, and I will leave this on the screen. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being absolutely not, and 5 being a we are on it, please answer the following questions about your organization. If you're a solo practitioner, these are worth thinking about in general. If you're not a nonprofit, they're still worthwhile questions to ask. Are your salaries competitive, your roles documented and development funded? 1 being absolutely not, and 5 being we're on it. Do finance, donor, and program data live in tools rather than inboxes? Do you hold 3 to 6 months of operating reserves? And is there a current strategic plan and a documented succession plan, both with actionable items and deadlines? I'm going to tell you that I've worked for organizations where all of these were a 1. I've worked for some organizations where they were somewhere between a 2 and a 4. I don't think I've worked for an organization where more than one of these at a time was a 5. We are on it. We do that really, really well. So it's worth considering where the weakness is. Score yourself honestly on each, and wherever you scored the lowest, that is your capacity building priority for the next 12 months. So after this meeting, you can go back to the decision makers and say, I was in this seminar and I observed that our salaries are not really competitive and our roles aren't really well documented and our development doesn't seem to be funded. I wonder if I can be helpful in creating the capacity for that. Of course, if you are the decision maker and you're analyzing these questions, you know what to do. These are your priorities. Pick 1 to start, not all 4, and start there. And if all 4 earn the same low score, if you're all absolutely not on all 4, then you need help. And that's where I come in. You don't have to build capacity alone. The Beck Matthes Collective, powered by purpose, can help you build a board that leads well and shares accountability, design a diversified, donor-centered revenue strategy, turn your mission into a clear, actionable strategic plan, track outcomes and tell your impact story with data, and strengthen the systems and the people behind the mission. We have a combined more than 40 years of experience working at every level of nonprofits, and we have been in so many nonprofits who are like, oh, if we were in charge, we'd do it differently. So we want to help you do it differently. So that's it. That is the end of my presentation. Start with why, build with how, measure by impact, and get help when you need it. I am so grateful for an opportunity to talk about the thing I am super passionate about, which is helping nonprofits succeed. And I look forward to helping you make your why real. I'm going to stop my screen share and I will take your questions, comments, good jokes, bad jokes.
Awesome. I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. I already see. I didn't even need to tell them. That's how you know we have some very interested people. I was going to say drop some emojis if you loved it, and I see
Yay.
it's filling up. So that was amazing.
Thank
We
you.
so appreciate it. We have questions in the chat, so I'm going to read them out to you. And then
Okay.
if anyone has more questions, you can either put them in the chat or you can raise your hand. To raise your hand, you just go to React and it says raise hand there. But I'll start with the questions in the chat and then feel free if you want to raise your hand or ask more questions, we will do that. First question I have here is from Phil. He says, so how much does grants actually contribute to a nonprofit, or do the donors contribute everything?
Okay, so this goes back to a diversified fundraising portfolio. Think of it like a pie, and each section of the pie is each section of the pie has its importance. You're not always going to be in control of the grant section of your pie. You might be in better control of the individual giving portion because you're in touch with those donors, because you know what motivates them. You'll do an annual appeal that you will know will generate so much. Grants are a little more fluid, perhaps, and less predictable. Um, so it's a little hard to answer how much is part, but but suffice to say that they should be a part of your package and not the whole package of fundraising.
Makes
I don't
sense.
know. Did that answer it, Phil?
If I
Excellent.
okay, great. Love it.
One for one.
Um, we have one from Lydia, too. So I'll ask the first one here. Does
Sure.
being a certified minority woman business help gain funding?
I think my answer to this question would have been different a year ago or 2 years ago. I am not sure that it is as helpful right now when there's so much focus on undoing equity in fundraising. I think you have to find the alignment with the funders that do prioritize that.
Makes sense. And then the second question she had was, do major donors seek any control over your organization?
Sometimes it's about relationship building though, and making sure that the lines are bright. It's much easier to have someone outside assert control if you don't know what direction you're headed in, which is again the argument for understanding your why, making sure it's solid throughout your organization, making sure that you have a strategic plan and you can go, it's right here in the strategic plan. Sorry, that doesn't align with our strategic priorities. Um, if you're working well with your major donors, they understand your mission, they understand what you want to do, they want to look to grow with you and to help you meet those priorities.
Makes sense.
Thank
And
you, Pat. Yeah, MWB is a big thing in New York State government grants and contracts, but that's in this state and not necessarily in every state.
okay. And then we had one more question up like before you got into it. Phil asked, what is the purpose of a board and how come you need them?
The board is there for primarily because you're required to have one when you establish any kind of business or corporation, but they're there for governance. Governance. They are there to help you raise funds. They're there to expand your reach. They're there to help guide strategy. Um, they should be working alongside your CEO, your executive director, to craft the direction of the organization. You don't need a big board to get the work done. You need a working board to get the work done. So you can have a small board that's just officers and a couple of voting members. It really depends on what works best for your organization. And as you set up an organization, there are consultants out there, myself included, who can guide you in answering those questions in the right way for your organization.
Makes sense. Rishi had a question. He said, where should someone start if they're looking to open up a nonprofit?
Oh God, please don't.
Uh,
Rishi asked the question because he knew that would be my answer. Um, um, I think that the most important thing to do is, as I said, understand what's available out there already. Really know your space. We and recognize that not one nonprofit is solving the entirety of the problem that they are attacking. All of us are taking nibbles around the edge of the problem. So my friend Lauren is on here. Her organization is not curing Alzheimer's, it's addressing the needs of Alzheimer's patients and their caregivers in a region, right? Um, homeless organizations that are doing the work are not stopping homelessness necessarily. They are, let's see, they are addressing the needs of homeless people or the communities where the homeless are congregating, or they're providing housing, or they're providing healthcare. They're not all doing everything. I had a cartoon originally for this that said something like, um, "We've decided on our mission. We're going to cure comb overs, get rid of the red tide, undo people who wear bad hats, um, and focus on literacy." It's like, no, no. First of all, that's mission creep. But second of all, no one nonprofit is fixing the entire social issue. So work within the system that exists to start and understand where the gaps are. Your money and time are going to be more valuable to a nonprofit that is already down the road towards addressing an issue often than they will be spent on creating something brand new that's similar. That was a very convoluted way to say, please don't start your own nonprofit.
We liked it. Shayna says, what's your favorite system for a CRM, customer relationship management, like outreach, follow-ups, tracking them, and reminders?
I don't know that I have a favorite. I think that they're all equally good or terrible, but it's got to work for what you need. So I think the right system is the one that's the right size for your organization. I almost never recommend that a new or small organization starts with something like Salesforce, because it's like a Cadillac when you're in the soapbox derby. It's a little overpowered for what you might need. I think it's a great aspirational tool, but you're going to pay a lot for the things you're not using. There are great less expensive systems out there, including all kinds of there's Bloomerang, there's others that work for smaller organizations a little better. But I don't think I have a favorite. I have ones that I've worked with that I find easier to work with.
Gotcha. JCM says, what would you say is the reason most nonprofits fail?
I never think it's a lack of passion, right? I don't think I really I think that everybody who starts a nonprofit or gets involved with a nonprofit gets in it for the right reasons. I have to assume. This is a lifestyle choice to work in nonprofit. You're absolutely adapting hard work and low pay for the amazing benefit of changing the world. Um, I think that many nonprofits fail because of exactly what I was talking about: a lack of planning, a lack of a strategy. Um, Anybody who knows me well knows that one of my favorite expressions is they're building the plane while they're flying it. And I think that that is exactly the thing that sinks a lot of nonprofits or makes them harder to work with and for is I think everybody on this call is too young, myself included, to understand the reference when I say, look, there's a barn, let's put on a show. It's like an old movie reference where, oh, let's just get these scrappy kids together and we're going to go put on a show and everybody will be entertained. I think there's a lot of that in the nonprofit space where people get so excited, something pushes them or hurts them or excites them, and they want to do good and they want to fix the thing. Um, and then what? As I started with this, it's not enough to be to have money. Just because it's for the common good doesn't mean you don't have to have a plan or equipment or systems. It can't just, it's cute to think that you're going to run it out of your basement and everybody you know is going to stuff envelopes, but that's not sustainable. And we're talking about sustainability. You want to be one of the ones that survives beyond the 10-year mark.
Makes sense. We have one from Phil here. He said, might be a silly question, but can you give me the typical org chart for a successful nonprofit organization?
Oof. Um, wow. It's not a silly question, but it's a more complicated question than this is the org chart that works for every nonprofit. I think you have to have a decision maker at the top. I think you have to have some level of middle management that makes decisions on a departmental basis, a program person, an operations person, a fundraising person. And I think that people need to feed up to middle management so that not everything has to go through the executive director in order to get things done. What that looks like in any nonprofit will vary. Um, I would discourage being too top heavy because, again, you don't want things stuck on somebody's desk for days and weeks and months. I think having good systems in place is really important too. You know, your executive director doesn't need to sign every thank you note, maybe at the beginning, but not years in. They can sign the ones that are over a certain amount, for example. Um, your managers need to be able to reach to the executive to have conversations about decisions they need to make, but they have to have autonomy and flexibility to address things as they arise. Again, everybody understanding the direction the organization is heading in is the key to making sure that those decisions at that lower level align with what the executive director would decide so that they don't feel like they can never leave their office unattended. It's hard. A lot of people who come in as founders get very attached and are very, very sure that they are the only ones who understand the mission and how to execute on it. But to help yourself, be a good communicator, be a good storyteller, make people understand your why and internalize your why. And then they can be more helpful to you. And that goes for your staff, your board, the people you meet in the community. It should be top of mind for everybody who encounters you. You should be so closely identified with this organization that it is what people think of when they talk to you. How can I help that organization do that thing?
We- We're rolling with the questions. So, guys, if we have any more questions, drop them in the chat, raise your hand. What I'll do now, so you guys have a little buffering time, I'm going to go ahead and share one upcoming event that we have and then also our contact information. So I am going to just share the screens one more time here. If you have more questions, feel free, throw them in the chat. Sometimes I find that this actually just helps people kind of, like I said, buffer and think of their next question. So, really quick. Um, like I mentioned, what is today? Every first Monday of the month, we have free masterminds. And then we also have buyer seminars every third Thursday of the month. And we also every month do a monthly give back. So this one is with Ronald McDonald House. It's actually this Saturday. If you're interested and you want to give back, it's a little bit of light cooking for some children that have pediatric illnesses, and it's over in Queens. If you're at all interested in helping out and want to come with our team, Vision Elite Real Estate team, you absolutely can. You can just text the number at the bottom of the screen there. And then lastly, oh yes, and Shayna said, can I repeat? Yeah. So every first Monday of the month, we have a mastermind, and every third Thursday of the month, we have seminars around buying real estate. And then lastly here, this is our left side is Vision Elite, right side is Sima's information. She also did share that slide at the end if you screenshotted that. So if there are any more questions, drop them now. But oh, see, we got one more. I told you buffering. While she's answering this question, if you want to screenshot this, if you or anything like that, so you can reach out to Sima, please do. Phil said, besides creating the vision, should you seek funding and grants first before attempting to start?
I think grants are going to be harder to come by as a brand new organization. I think it's really important that your vision and your paperwork to start your organization are impeccable. Your initial board should help you with seed funding so that it's not out of your pocket. They should, we didn't really talk about board development, but most boards have something called a give get policy, which should be written into your bylaws, where they are responsible for a financial contribution and or connections to financial support, community support, other possible donors, other possible supporters. Um, so I don't know that I'd start with funding and grants first. I would start with creating your vision, making sure that your strategic plan is articulate and complete, and then recruiting board members that can help you execute your strategic plan.
Awesome. So if there aren't any more questions, I won't stop you guys, but put them there. But as we close up this awesome night and this all these great things we learned, Sim, I just want to see if you had any last things you wanted to say or share before we do close out.
No, I'm so grateful to the Vision Elite team. Rishi, boy, talk about just talking to the right person at an event. You've been such a great supporter and a great resource for me, and I'm so grateful every time I'm invited to address your folks. It's wonderful. I want to thank everybody who attended tonight. This is great. I especially want to thank my friends who showed up to say to to say whether I'm full of it or not. Text me later. But I really I appreciate the attention that people give. It's hard at this hour, and I appreciate again all of you. And I wish anybody who's attempting this work to change the world tremendous success. Please uh, feel free to reach out and let me know if I can answer any questions for you. Happy to help.
Love it. Well, thank you again, Sima. We definitely, if you check the chat, we got well done, amazing, fire emojis, all these things. So, again, everybody, appreciate you, like Sima said, for being here. Sima, thank you for being here.
My
We all
pleasure.
learned a lot. We really, really appreciate it. There'll be some music playing at the end. Again, feel free to screenshot the contact information and feel free to drop some more emojis just to let Sima know how great she did. With that being said, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and I will see you all again soon.
All
Bye.
right. Thank you all again.